So, yeah. So we were talking about all kinds of fun stuff. The pilgrims is the Thanksgiving pilgrims. That's the fun subject today. It's just so hard,
Tis
right?
the season.
It's so hard to stay directly on topic because different things come up and I go, oh, what's this? And I go down that rabbit hole and then I go down rabbit hole. Right.
Piece of candy.
And it's hard to stay on the actual path because there's lots of different pieces of candy that are delicious.
We're not going to.
And I keep trying to stay on that path, but it's, there's a huge part of me that hates even doing this because I know what I'm doing. I'm providing a distraction. I'm sitting here getting people to look at something that, or talk about something that absolutely doesn't matter and that we can only believe, what we're told. We don't know. There's no time machines will never be invented. You know how you know? Because we don't know. Because there isn't like if somebody invented a time machine, we would already know. Somewhere in the future, somebody invents a time machine, then they would already be traveling back. Like,
they're not.
Because we would know.
Because you don't know them?
No, because we would know. You would know. I mean, sure, it could be false, but I think at this point somebody would, and I know there are those stories. There are stories that exist. What's that one guy's name in the 80s? And he told but it's I don't know. Things like that to me are a waste of time. Anything that makes people think critically about information they have to access is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess. The problem is, it's like, something they did during Trump, right? Actually, it's something that seemingly they've always done it. It just sort of slowed down with Biden, actually. But, like, 15, 16, whatever, what they would do was bombard us with shooting events, right? Every month or two, there's a new shooting event. Every time there's some sort of weird government bullshit is happening that we're not supposed to pay attention to or we should forget about, a shooting event happens. And then you get other stories like, remember that dude in the van that supposedly mailed all those fake pipe bombs to all these Democratic candidates? Like, there's just story after story. The Facebook shooter.
From Michigan? Wasn't he from Michigan?
No. The Facebook shooter, the black guy that was like, yo, I'm gonna go trying to kill my girlfriend. I went to her work and I killed 13 people. I just feel like killing somebody else right now. So he pulls over his car and he sees an old man, old black man. I don't know if he's homeless or not. He looks pretty disheveled, but he walks up to him and he's like, yo, what's up, old man? And the old man's like, huh, what? Oh, no, brother. And the guy goes, pew! And shoots his gun and does a pirouette at the same time. And as he comes back, now the old man is laying on the ground stiff and there's blood splatter. And if you pay close attention, the light is just a little bit different. And the people that do that kind of thing started immediately breaking down those videos and looking at them frame by frame, only to find out that, why did who shoots a gun and spins around at the same time? That is probably the worst strategy you can have for shooting a gun, honestly. But turns out when he did the spin around, there was an edit in the video. That's where they hid the edit. And as soon as that narrative gets destroyed or gets questioned or, gets challenged, the story goes away. And that's just what they do. That's how they manipulate us. No time in history have people had as easy access to information as they do now, which makes false information easier to spread. It really comes down to what you want to believe. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, if you control how people think, what they think is secondary. So if you can make white people feel like they've been victimized somehow, and that it's people today, it's their guilt, the people today, it's their fault that the ancestors did this, and it creates all these, that you can manipulate people. If you have people believing that the history is real and all that shit, you affect how they perceive things. When you have people believing that they are Christian, and they go, okay, so what does the Christian book says? Christian book says that the bad guys, people that killed the Jesus, people that laugh at us and look down on us, that those are Christian God's chosen favorite people. Okay, well, the book says so I guess I gotta support it. They control how you think. If you believe that you live on a ball flying through space, and they say, yeah, did you know that before us, there were these giant lizard things, huge, fucking huge. In 1875, we just sort of figured that out. We didn't know about it prior to. Yeah, some places called them dragons. 1875, a couple of Freemasons sort of start finding dinosaur bones 10 years after Freemasons theorized they existed. And suddenly, now you believe in dinosaurs. You believe that oil is the result of dead dinosaurs deep in the ground and shit. You believe that dinosaurs were these massive creatures that were way more badass than our frail human capacity is. And all but a few of them were wiped out by a rock that fell from the sky. And that rock fell from the sky, killed almost everything, except for some of those lizards that turned into birds. Now, remember, all of those lizards came from a fish that came out of the water. Fish came out of the water, knew how to breathe air somehow, turned into lizards, learned how to fly. Like think about what you're told. The scientific, this is science. Whoa, dude, this is over millions of years. I mean, evolution takes a long time. Yeah, at some point, something like, can you imagine one day a human can breathe underwater? You see us evolving in that way? We're just going to evolve to be able to breathe underwater, something that's completely different, because again, they're not really breathing. Like it's not the same thing. The fish and shit live in a completely different environment.
The Atlantis people did it.
Right. We're just gonna evolve to breathe underwater. That's the same thing as one day a fish is just like, I'm gonna do it. Hey, let me hop my fucking ass on out the water. And then I guess it grew legs. The next few million years it grew legs, and like, do you understand us? And then again, over time, these fish evolved into dinosaurs. They had to. How else would they get here? According to your narrative, according to like science and evolution and all that bullshit. And then the rock fell from the sky, wiped almost all of it out, except for fish that can breathe air, because they hop back out again. And this time, they turned into, like, instead of a whole bunch of lizards, they turned into some lizards, smaller. They turned into mammals. they turned into
Which
insects.
That's a very broad scope. I mean, mammals range from, cats to
Exactly. That came from fish.
to mice.
That came from fish that learned how to breathe air and evolved over years. And then bugs,
Bullshit.
all the bugs, how all the bugs got here. All the many, many different kinds of bugs that exist.
Cockroaches were here before God.
And then again, some of those dinosaurs that either survived or other fish that came out of the water, and well, they say it's dinosaurs. They turned into birds.
Yeah, chickens.
Chickens and turkeys and eagles and the ostrich. Yep, the ostrich is a great example of still kind of a dinosaur, huh? Because it can't fly and it's big. Must be a dinosaur. And it's and then monkeys. And unlike how
that falls under mammals.
Yeah, but that's and again, mammals, all the different mammals, the fish turned into all the different mammals that turned into monkeys, and monkeys were the only things that turned into something else. Tigers are still tigers. Elephants are still elephants. But monkeys turned into people.
Well, they didn't start off as tigers. They were saber-toothed tigers.
Okay, but at the same time,
because things evolved down,
right.
Typically. Not evolved up. They evolved down.
Right.
So they evolved down to the tigers.
And cat and lions
So
and
was it the clownfish
and leopards
that turned into the monkey, and that's why they're goofy?
Clownfish, goofy monkeys. I
mean, yeah.
Think about it. Think about how this is what you.
Well, no, man. Those are just metaphors for other shit. What?
You who believes in... Well, it's funny because so many of you believe in science and religion. But you who goes, no, I'm an atheist. I believe in science alone. Well, then you believe this. Here, can you talk for a minute?
Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, we've all asked those questions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck. Is that what's going to feed my babies? Is that what's going to make my daily that much easier to get through? No. Would it be nice to know? Is it interesting? Sure. But where exactly we came from? No, I do not believe that fish turned into people. I mean... have seen some crazy things in science, due to evolution that were seemed inexplainable, but I don't know, it just seems really far-fetched. Definitely don't believe the fucking stupid made-up Christian story.
Right, but that's the other, you're only allowed those two narratives.
But,
you're only allowed those two narratives. And for me to give you a third narrative, that's crazy. We've seen what?
Like I was saying, there's evidence in nature of evolution that just seem
Where?
absolutely miraculous. Like the fish that can see down deep in the dark, and shit like that.
Well, not just that, but don't those fish have just an insane amount of pressure on them?
Right. I mean, so
and then if they've never experienced light, and then we shine a light on them. Wouldn't that basically be like lighting them on fire?
Some of them don't have eyes. Some of the creatures down there don't even
but
have eyes.
Not just their eyes, their skin. Having never experienced light before, it would burn.
I would think.
Right.
So there's some pretty miraculous things in nature that...
But at the same time, you only know those things because you're told.
Okay. No, because...
You don't know that.
Have you ever, you lived in California. When you came back to Michigan, how long did it take your body to adjust back to the cold like you...
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying you believe that they have submarines that are going along the bottom of the ocean looking at shit. And I do not anymore. I'm sorry. I just think it's all stupid. I think it's stupid. When we're talking about however many meters down, the pressure. Have you ever been in a deep pool before?
Yes.
You go down to the bottom of the deepest part of the pool and your fucking head feels like it's going to cave in. That's 12, 15 feet. Imagine what it's like 800 meters down. Like, get out of here. You know, and see, but back to the, like, this is that thing, this that whole idea of, they sort of give it to you like, well, you can either be this or that. And most of us are so brainwashed, we're kind of a mix of the both, like religious people. But think about how stupid your stories are. Whether it's the idea of the fish that keep coming out of the water and then turning into everything else, or it's this idea that God, how did God and Adam make all the species all over the earth? I mean, we're talking about, different things living in different places and that didn't exist back then. And like, what are we even talking about? God sat there and he would make something out of clay, and then goofy ass Adam would be like, okay, that's a hippopotamus. And then God would be like, all right, these things go over here then. And then God would make a bear. And this time it's like, okay, look at him. Now this bear is going to be a lot bigger than the ones we made for this. These are going to be a different color. So what are we going to, these are black bears. Okay, black bears. These go over here. Now we're going to make some big white ones that go over here. Or is it that you think God made like the basic stuff and then evolution took over? Which one do you think it is? And all of this happened when? Like, this stuff isn't happening now. This stuff hasn't been happening since we started keeping watch of things. Like, when it comes to fossils, this whole argument is crazy to me. Anybody can explain to me how organic matter turns into stone? I'd love to hear that shit. Oh, the dinosaur fell into the water where a layer of dirt fell on top of it, and it sealed it, became sealed, hermetically sealed. And then a volcano erupted, and the ash went down into the ground, and eventually all the silica from the volcano erupting replaced all the molecules and whatnot in the thing that died. I mean, it's just stupid. It is fucking stupid. It's like you don't know how dead bodies work. When things die, mammals, things that live outside, all of it, they swell up, and then after a minute, their orifices start leaking out, and it's just nasty. Death is nasty and messy and gross. That it somehow turns into this perfectly made rock is stupid. Something else clearly was happening. How come we never find anything that's like in a half fossil sort of state? Oh man, if only this rock would have been left, this half a rock, half a bug thing, only would have been left here for another 3 million years, it would have turned into the full fossil. Like, it doesn't work that way. Think about what the fuck we're talking about here. It's always so weird to me that people, like, instead of trying to intelligently engage in the conversation, just cry and cry and cry. You're making me think in ways I don't want to think. And to think that like every single fossil was created because something fell into a river that then was hermetically sealed because the sedentary rock bottle. Like, come on. Do you know how stupid that is? And at the end of the day, it so doesn't even matter. The only reason I talk about it is to point out how stupid it is. But the reality is it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you and I, us regular goyim on the ground level here, we'll never know the answers until we overthrow the chosen that control our narrative. The people that are committing genocide right now and broadcasting it to the world and bragging about it. When we overthrow them is when we finally get the answers that we need. It just happens to work out that they're also committing genocide right now. What about the tar pits? What about the tar pits? What about them? Make it make sense. There are very few of them that exist. If I only know of the one in California. But that okay, so you have tar pits, and then you have creatures that fell into lakes and were hermetically sealed. And even then, how did the tar pits work? So the tar pits, the thing falls in them, and then turns into a fossil, and then it spits it back out somehow. What? That don't make no sense. We're definitely not going down deep into the tar pits. So what the fuck are you talking about? And even then, when it comes to the tar pits, how much do you think you and I are allowed to do an investigation into them? How much are we allowed, you and I allowed to conduct experiments? See? Here. I'll throw it to you. Here.
My nail.
Nick,
Nick, come get that. He's got.
just catch this woman.
No, my nail. I can't.
You can catch. Here.
Oh, this one's.
Here.
This one keeps busting. Nick's coming.
Catch this. Nice catch, doofus. Mm-hmm. Exactly. NPC's out shopping on Friday, but you can't blame people for that. For some reason, we can pay a whole shitload less for the same items today. Like it's you can't blame people for fucking trying to finally catch a break. And then this is for them. They just laugh at that shit. They just laugh at us. Ah, look at those dumb goyim trying to save money. That's literally all it ever comes down to. It's just more control. Just more manipulation. You know? We're the kids that are at Tijuana running up and shaking your pants to hear if there's change in there and then begging, please, come on, give me a discount, please. You could always charge these prices and we'd probably buy a lot more, but please. It's fucking stupid. Eve came from a rib. Yeah, sure. What's your stance on Christianity? It's fucking dumb. It's Christianity comes from Second Temple Judaism according to the narrative. So just like Freemasonry, just like what, bud? I know, and I say no. No, because I said so, and I'm definitely not arguing with you right now. I'm not arguing with you. It's obvious. Like, you ask your grandparents, you ask your parents, you talk about it in a semi-formal situation. Who controls the world? Who controls Hollywood? Who are most of the people Trump has put in his cabinet? Who are the only people that are allowed to have dual citizenship and still be high-ranking members of our government? You know? Dual Israeli citizens are everywhere. Show me dual Spanish, dual Iraqi, dual anything other citizens that are part of our government. I mean, when we're talking about evolution or creation, Both are basically the same fairy tale, just told a little bit different. Like, okay, so the Big Bang is the goofy. It's so goofy, right? So the Big Bang happens, and there's the bang, and then there's the dark period, and then there's the star period. So what happens is the Big Bang comes from a singularity. The singularity is I mean, I guess in the narrative that we're given, the singularity does not also create the black stuff or the edges of the universe. So it's not like it's a dot just in the middle of nothing. It's everything inside the universe is supposedly in this Big Bang, but the universe exists, the empty universe. And it's the same thing with God. Like what makes God? Because religious people always want to be like, oh yeah, you believe something came from nothing. You believe something came from nothing. Well, where did God come from? There is nowhere to. God was always there. Duh. But basically, God sort of appeared in the empty universe and just started being like stars and planets and black hole. Oops, like it's silly. But the Big Bang is like stand where you are in a circle. Stand where you are right now and spin in a circle, and just think, okay, everything I can see and everything 107 other people can see right now times infinity was all condensed down into something smaller than a match head because the gravity was pushing on it so much. Pushing on gravity's pushing. And you know how, like, when you're in a vacuum and the gravity is pushing things so super hard that they explode out? You know how that works, right? You push things super hard and then they explode. Douglas Adams theorized that the concept of God came from when men made tools. We asked, I made this to do blank, so who made me to do what? It's the satirical view, but it's an interesting one. I disagree, and we'll get to that. But so I just read your comments out of respect. So everything's condensed down. It's pushing, and then suddenly it explodes. And when it explodes, there's this light part, and then there's this dark period, and then there's the singularity just continues to spew debris in every direction. And unlike how in what would make sense, that like if you're at a ball and everything explodes and shoots out in directions, and as it gets further and further out, everything gets further and further away. That's how that makes sense. Things wouldn't get closer together, but for some reason, that gravity that was crushing the things is now forming invisible pockets amongst all the debris. And it starts the swirling and swirling. And after it swirls for a while, dust and little clumps of dirt and shit, they all start coming together and forming a bigger and bigger clump in the center of this gravity pocket. And eventually, enough dirt comes together that it forms a big ass ball that lights itself on fire, plasma fire, in the nuclear plasma fire in the middle of a vacuum out in space while it's being shot at millions of miles per hour out into space. These rocks, these clumps light themselves on nuclear fire. Now, around those balls in a fried egg pattern, because even though we're in a ball, we're in a vacuum, somehow there's a top and a bottom. That shit's just such a joke. If you really think about what they tell you, that we live in a vacuum where there's no gravity or the magical gravity force, it's a vacuum, and yet there's still a north and south pole. Why would that exist? Why would that be how it works? There's no north and there's no up and down. We're talking about circles, spheres supposedly. On a sphere, how do you decide what a north and a south is in a vacuum, in a nothing? But somehow they form a fried egg pattern where more little gravity pockets will swirl and pull more clumps in concentric rings. Some have multiple rings, some only have a few, but they pull enough dirt shit together to form, big clump balls. But these, instead of lighting themselves on fire, only the inside lights on fire. And like when it comes to Earth, the outside and multiple layers, according to science, that can only drill 8 miles down, but we know that it's jello mold, the crust, inner crust, outer crust, mantle, inner mantle, outer mantle, core. We know that's how it is. It forms it like that. It forms layers like that. And then on ours, it just started raining. Because enough of the hot stuff was coming out from the inner part that it started raining. And it rained so much that it filled the oceans that turn salty and rise and fall with the moon. But it also fills the lakes that are not salty and don't rise and fall with the moon. And then eventually I guess a rock falls out of the sky and brings the single-celled organism that survives coming to Earth and crashing into the blah blah, and then that thing morphs into a double-celled organism, and the soup turns into a stew, and the stew turns into a fish, and the fish turns into a monkey, a dinosaur, and they get wiped out by a rock that falls, and then more fish come out of the water and they turn into birds and snakes and aeroplanes, and then eventually it all, the fish that turned into a monkey actually turned into a person. Tigers didn't turn into a super tiger person. Elephants didn't turn into super elephants. But monkeys turned into super hairless monkeys that now run the show and believe we know everything. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? Just like Adam, God sat there, and can you imagine how long it took God making? The Genesis story is just so funny to me, and to me, it really does. It actually goes more with the TV show thing. It goes more with, like, both of these narratives are stupid as hell, and they make sense when you think about it. That we're just a more advanced version of us, has us in a structure that we don't really know that we're in. And whether there's cameras flying around and we can't see them or not, I assume we're a reality show. But we're also a farm. We're also a testing ground. We're lots of things, but I think we're a reality show. And that really explains why this world is the way it is. And the reason why the reality show makes sense, and I know that's a leap for some of you, but the reality show, when you look that it's 2024 and we don't live in a utopia where everybody has a great life and nobody has to work and machines do most of the work and those that want to work do, but everybody else, your job is contribution. You got to contribute somehow, whether it's creating art or inventing something or being a good parent or being a friend to the guy that invents something or whatever it may be. Just enjoy life. We should have that. Why don't we? And it's because of conflict, the necessary conflict. Conflict is the backbone of all entertainment. Oh, no comments are coming through. Hang on. Conflict is the backbone of entertainment. Without conflict, we don't watch it. Oh, that didn't work this time. That's really weird. It worked last time. Conflict is without, and it's from, Ion stupid, murder shows all the way down to Sesame Street. Will the round peg fit the square hole? These are conflicts. And if all we are in is one big fucked up reality show, It explains why the decisions are constantly made to keep us in conflict instead of making our world the better place it should be. But that's that becomes theoretical shit, and I don't. At the end of the day, we can't know that. We can't know what it actually is until we overthrow the chosen that control our narrative and tell us what it is. Weird that I can't. Hang on, let me try again. I'm trying to reset the comments, but I guess they're just not going to let me do that this time. I thought I figured something out to make it work, but I guess not. Why aren't the comments coming through? if I'm just selling porky pies and I'm just some goofball, why aren't the comments coming through? Why do they keep doing that to me? Why do they want there to be a disconnect between you and I? I have 90 viewers, 102 viewers, and I'm supposed to reset this shit because I want the comments to come through. I mean, that's pretty unfair, isn't it? If I do this again, will you guys all come back again? I guess we'll just have to find out. To me, it's more important to hear what you guys have to say than to sit here and keep talking. So, don't forget to grab your free download, www.the-bilderberg, group.com. They will be, it'll ask you how much you want to pay. You just put zero, or you could put $25, $30, $1,000. All we ask is that you download it for free and share it with somebody else. But, you know, go get it. I'm going to put the link to the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Bilderberg Group Official. It's a link to our song Putin Work. Go watch that shit, share that shit. It's funny, it's good. And I'll see you right back here. But the links will be in the description, so come right back, I guess, so I can have a conversation with you guys instead of this stupid shit that keeps happening. Anyway, pedophiles, kill yourself.